Okay, I think everyone's in here. Everyone was so prompt. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first Users Unite webinar. My name is Selena Patel, and I'll be your host today. This is a new webinar series that we're doing, and we're going to be diving into deep topics, ones that are more important to you guys, our customers. We do a lot of prospect-facing webinars, but not a lot of customer-facing webinars. So we would like to do this quarterly for you all, just to get in a little bit deeper into all of the things that is going on in the Acumatica sphere, as well as just things that might help you, tips and tricks. So today we're going to have a really packed program. We're going to start off with talking about some of the new updates and features available in Acumatica 2021 R2. And then we're going to have a brief presentation from our strategies group partner, Avalara. On the screen, you'll see a few topics that we'll be demoing today. If you have any questions during the demo or during the presentation, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box below or in the chat, whichever you prefer. And I think that's all of the housekeeping items that I have. And with that, I'll hand it over to the consulting team to get this whole thing started. I think Justin will be our first presenter, so let's go for it.
Fantastic, and welcome everybody. And everybody can see my screen. I'll be kind of going over the dashboards and the new DAX schema to go through. So we'll just jump right into the dashboard. So we have kind of our base dashboard here for a project manager. So we have an update to the cards you'll see that will go from, this right now is telling us red to green, and kind of what our normal level to alarm. And now we can actually change that to more of a meter. So if I click on my design, I can edit this and go now a new visual type is called the meter. If I hit finish, and now I'll actually be able to see kind of how close I am going to be able to get to my red issue. So let's hit that, and boom, goes the dynamite. We've got our 13 issues, and I know I'm going to have a warning at 16. Now I'm going to actually add in a new KPI, and it's my KPI indicator. I'm going to do my submittals because now I've actually got more familiar with the system, and I'm going to be adding kind of more of my project manager items. Add my submittals, and I only want to see my open submittals. So I'm just going to look at status and the open, aggregate by my submittal. And normally I have 3 items that are open, but if I have more than 8, I know that I'm going to really need to know that something's wrong. And I'm going to change again from my my scorecard to meter. I open submittals and hit finish. And now I've got 2 scorecards on my dashboard. So put that over here. And now that I've had my dashboard, I'm going to be adding a lot more in the future, but I kind of want to organize this in kind of my project management items. So I'm just going to add now a new header, which is going to be here next. And it's going to be my project manager KPIs, because I'm going to be adding RFIs and things of that nature as well too. So it's over. And now, again, as you can kind of see, I can move things around, make things bigger and smaller. And now I kind of can clean up my dashboard to have more items kind of within a bigger grouping. The next thing is we can actually create links. So if you want to live in your dashboard instead of always kind of navigating around. So essentially I may want to have, create a new submittal right from the screen instead of having to go 3 or 4 extra clicks. So again, I hit my design. I'm going to add a new widget, and I'm going to do this new link. Okay. Next. And I'm just going to do open. Just create an icon so that looks nice and neat. I'm going to do my submittal. My submittals form. And based on this screen ID, I'm going to be able to go right to a brand new submittal. I'm going to hit finish. And now, instead of leaving my dashboard, I can click right here, brings me to an open new tab, and I can create a brand new submittal attached to the project and everything of that nature. So you can do that with reports, basically kind of customize it. So instead of just having your favorites and back and forth between your dashboard and your favorites, you can kind of live in one spot in there. Next is another thing I want to do with my dashboard is add all my basically unpaid and overdue AP bills. Now, if anybody of you know the AP bills, right, I need to know about my due date. That's going to be at my summary level. And all my project information is going to be the detail level. So I'm going to have to make a new generic inquiry, and I'm going to have to link those. I don't know how to link those because, right, they are two separate tables. And the new DAC schema browser is going to help tremendously with that if I don't know how this works initially. So there's a way to hit customize and inspect element. I'm going to look for my base table, which is going to be my AP invoice. So that'll be all the information up here. But again, I need to get my project info from this table. And I'm going to look at my AP trans. And then I already know that I need the PM project table to bring in that detail information. So I've kind of gone in and already kind of started the process of creating a generic inquiry. And again, I know the three tables I need. I just don't know how to join those things. So I'm going to click on now a hyperlink of the type of the table name, and it's going to bring me to, again, this new DACA schema browser. So this is going to give us a really deep dive as far as exactly what is in this table, and then all of the different tables that are potentially linked to it. So we've got our incoming references and outgoing references. Those are just the tables going in and out. We also can see the fields in the database side. We can see what type they are, if they're a date or a string or a specific character. We also have the display name that we see. So sometimes connecting those two things can be a little bit different. And then two, I can search all those different tables in here. So I know that the AP trans is going to be an incoming reference. So I'm going to click on there and just scroll down. And what I'm going to do is try to look for how is the AP invoice connected to the AP tran. And I'm going to look at my child DAC. I can see here my AP tran, and I'm going to see that my parent field in AP invoice needs doc type and ref number, and that is connected directly to tran type ref number. Fantastic. Now I know I can connect those two things. Now I want to connect my AP tran to my PM project. So actually, I'm just going to click on AP tran. It's going to take me to that DAC and give me all the details about the AP tran. Now I know that for this example, the PM table is going to be an outgoing reference from the PM trans. So if I click on there, I'll be able to see all those outgoing tables. And so again, I'm going to look for that PM project, and right here, bam, got it. And now I can see that the child or the PM trans is going to have project ID, and it's going to link to contract ID. So I know sometimes that can be confusing on how to connect different things to the project table. So if I come back to my generic inquiry, I can see my relationships. Here, my AP invoice and tran, I've got both, again, based on my parent table and my child table. I just link those things and have that information for my DAC. So again, I've gone up and set this table up so I can actually go see my generic inquiry. And so this is bringing in all of my data, and basically I've created a filter that's going to give the past due invoices so that I can bring that into my dashboard. So I'm just going to click on design, add a new dashboard, my table. I'm going to do my new generic inquiry. I'm going to use the filter already set, so my past due invoices, right? And this is going to be past due for bills. And now I can simply add that table to my dashboard. So, and then again, I can interact with this as much as I need to. I can sort by, and then I can click on this and it takes me right to the generic inquiry that's already been drilled down for us. So that stays standard. That should wrap up my side. I'm going to kick that back off to our next consultant.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. All right, my name is Marissa Henderson, and I am going to be showing you guys the service order updates. Can everybody see my screen? I don't want to start sharing and no one can see it. Everybody good? Everybody can see it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, so what I'm going to show you from the project screen is the 2021 R2 has the ability to create a service order as well as an appointment right from the project screen. So if I'm in my project screen right here to the right of my Run Project Billing button that is now green, I can click this three little dots, and under the services, I can create a service order. So it's going to pull up a little pop-up menu. It's going to have just a brief amount of information from the actual service order screen. So I'm going to fill out as much as I need to or want to on this particular pop-up. And once I do, I have the option of choosing an order date of different things. So I'm going to say this service order is for Monday. And I can create and review or create. Create and review takes me right into the service order screen. So as we can see here, I have my settings, details, everything from the service order, and I can finish building this out. So I'm going to come in here and finish building out my service order based on what I wanted to do for my customer, include everything I know I'm going to need, and I'm actually even going to include some services. So we're going to install some things here and get everything set up for our actual field service folks to go out there. So that's how you create a service order right from the project screen. I can click my discard changes and close and go right back to my project. And from here, I'm going to show you how to create an appointment from the project screen. But the difference is I'm going to actually just create it and not go to the appointments menu. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to choose a different branch location. I'm going to set up my project task. You can see the same pop-up comes up here. The only difference is if I choose appointments, it's going to allow me to actually put in this appointment settings right here. So I'm going to say it's from Monday. We're going to start at 11 in the morning, and I'm going to click create. We have a little pop-up that shows up here, and it lets me know my operation is complete. So if I come here to my appointments, I'm going to refresh my screen and make sure my appointment actually shows up. And I think I have it set for the 26th, but Monday is the 25th. So click OK. And now I have appointments set up here in the system. All right. The other thing I wanted to be able to show you guys today, I did the same thing here by accident. Good night. All right. So let's do it for 10:25. Click OK. So we have our service order that we have here. So I have the one that we created from the project screen. So I have my service order, and under my details tab, I pulled in inventory. You have the ability in Acumatica, I'm pulling up the wrong one. Good gracious. I hope we're not recorded because they can see all my mistakes. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to this one and go to the details tab. There we go. That's the one we just created. And now you have an ability in the service order screen to create a purchase order based on what you pulled in on the details tab. So I have my mark for PO. I'm going to pull in my inventory item. And when I do that and I save it, I have the option to have the system take me right into creating a purchase order. So I'm going to create purchase order. It's going to take me to the create purchase order transactional screen where I can fill out all the information I need to here. One of the things you will have to fill out is your vendor. It pulls in automatically the way I have it configured, select it, and hit process. Once it's finished, it's literally going to pull it into the purchase order screen. Everything's going to be set up. And now my status is on hold. I can remove my hold because there's nothing else I need to add. And I'm going to approve it because I'm set as the approver. And now I created a purchase order right from this particular screen. Okay. One of the last things I wanted to show you was the calendar board. For the 2021 R2, there's a lot of cool little features that you can do. One of the things you can do is you can take a service order and you can attach it to an actual employee in your system to create an appointment. So I am configuring my calendar board to have the branches, all the locations as all, and I have tons of service orders in the system. So I'm going to take the customer from the project where we created our service order. And if you can see here at the top, you have the ability to sort it by day, by week, by month, whatever is necessary for you. So for this particular week, I'm going to actually do it for next week so I can see who's available. I have one person available for next week. And once I do, I'm going to have the ability to see what service orders need to go out next week and who I can assign them to. So I have these service orders here. I'm going to click the little arrow, and then I can actually drag and drop this into Michael Andrews for Monday. Once I do, it's actually literally going to assign him an appointment for that particular time as you hovered over that particular screen. So whichever you want, by day, by week, by month. And there it is. It's up. Now it's stuck. It's in there. He has an appointment and everything is good to go. You can click on the link and you can see his appointment actually created for him, and it's all assigned out to him as a staff member. That's all I had to share. So I'm going to stop sharing and give it over to our next consultant.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to show you the updated reclassification functionality and the new project dropship purchase order type included in 2021 R2. So in previous versions of Acumatica, the reclassify transactions functionality was limited in that users were only able to reclassify GL transactions that were not linked to projects. This functionality has been extended so that a user can now perform reclassifications of project-related transactions to change an incorrectly specified account, sub-account, or branch, or to move posted amounts between the projects, project tasks, and cost codes. If you look at the reclassify transaction screen, you will see that the project-related columns have now been added. So for example, if we've entered a batch of invoices, however, one has been coded to the wrong project, we can double click in the to project box, click the magnifying glass, select that new project, and click process. Now, once we process, the system will then generate a new GL transaction that offsets the original and posts the transaction amount. If the reclassified transaction relates to a project, the corresponding project transaction is generated to update the actual project values. In 2021 R2, you can also reclassify an accounts payable bill. To do so, you'll open your bill. We'll use this one as an example. You'll go to your More menu, and under Corrections, you'll see Reclassify Bill, which you can also favorite, and you'll see that that action button will pop up there. Once you click Reclassify Bill, the system will put it into the under reclassification status. And as you can see down here under your details, all of the items that you can now update are highlighted in green. So for this one, we want to change the account. So we'll double click in that account button. We'll select the right account. And once you've made your changes, then you'll go and you'll release it. Once it's now open, the system has generated a new GL transaction to replace the old one. And if there is a project related to this invoice, it will create the project transactions as well. And bing, bang, boom, you're done. So the next thing that we're going to look at is under the purchase orders, under the type, there is the new project drop ship type. Now, once you select this, you'll see that the mandatory project button pops up. So we'll select a vendor. We'll do American Door Glass. And for the project, let's select 29. Now, once you enter this project here, you'll go down to your details. You'll enter in your inventory item. And we will do Powerade because why not? Your amount. And the first thing that you can tell is that the project is filtered down here. So you'll enter in your project task. Then we'll do labor and a cost code if it is relevant on your project. And then you will remove your hold. it's asking for, let's put a cost code in here. Now, once you remove the hold, the system is then going to generate on the shipping details. It'll select the project site for the shipping destination to, and then it will copy the ship to contact as well as the ship to address from the bill to and the project address sections of the project. Once you save the purchase order with the open status, the system will then create a commitment on your projects form for each line item of your purchase order. It will also update the original, the revised, and the committed open values of the corresponding budget lines of the project. To record the expenses to the project, you just need to create an AP bill for the purchase order. And when that bill is released, the system updates the cost budget lines of the project. Now, if you have a project dropship return, the system will process the order based on the settings which were specified for the project order. That is all I had to share. So I will turn my screen over to the next person.
Rebecca?
Hi, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, sorry. Shared my screen, forgot to unmute myself.
You're fine.
I'm going to show everyone just a couple of small general usability items, and then I'm also going to talk about cross-sell, upsell, and take a very short peek at the production schedule board that's been added in 21R2. So hopefully everybody can see my screen showing the bills and adjustments, and you may have noticed when the other presenters have been showing the things that they have been showing that the top menus up here on the screens look a little bit different in 21R2. They've made a couple of small enhancements to usability here that I think are super powerful for anybody who's going to be using the system. The first is that the buttons that you've seen up here in prior versions are still there mostly, but will often be color coded so that it's easy to see sort of what is the next thing or the next item that can be done in the process flow. So in my bills and adjustment screen, remove hold is the next step in my process for processing a bill. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then from there, the next possible steps might be pre-release or release. And it's always going to highlight sort of the most common next thing for you to do in the process of any transaction. And you'll see these buttons and these visual cues in pretty much every transaction process screen that you see in Acumatica 21R2. The other thing that they've done here is that in older versions of Acumatica, they had the drop-down menus that were reports or actions or sometimes other choices. They've sort of consolidated all of those into one big pop-out menu that sort of groups all of the available things into one pop-up menu. So you don't have to ask yourself, oh, was that in reports or which menu was that under? You just click the little 3 dots and the available options will all show up there. And the last thing that they've done here that makes usability a little bit better for all of us is that you can make any one of these items favorites. So if there are buttons that you tend to use more often than other buttons, then you can mark those as favorites, and whichever ones you mark will always be stuck to the top of the screen there. So just a little bit of usability enhancement. You'll see that in most of the screens in 21R2. The next thing I wanted to talk about was something that's related to the inventory and sales modules, and that's a cross-sell upsell feature. And what this is the ability to say for the stock items that you have in your system, anything that you might want to associate with that basic item that might be a substitute if you're out of that item, or a cross-sell opportunity. Kind of the, if you bought this, do you also want to suggest that the customer buy that? Or a substitute, cross-sell, or an upsell. So in this particular situation, I have my hot dogs that I'm going to put on a sales order here in a minute. And these are just the basic ballpark beef franks, nothing special. But I do have associated in the stock item screen an upsell item. So this might be, oh, well, if the customer is buying this, do they perhaps maybe want to buy that instead? So it will offer this as a suggestion. So that's what an upsell would be. A cross-sell situation, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. I have one of those on my Polish dogs. So in this situation for the Polish dogs, if I put those on an order, it's going to say, hey, do you also want to buy these as well as the thing that we have put on the sales order initially. We can also optionally make a cross-sell item required. And we've had this request a lot over the years where people will say, oh, well, when I put something on a sales order, can I also have it tell me if the customer is ordering this item, they should also order that item to go with it? And this is the answer to that requirement. So I'm going to pop over into a sales order screen where I already have the basic ballpark beef franks on the sales order. And there's a new column here called related items. And there's a couple of visual cues that you'll see here. In this particular case, this is my basic hot dogs, but it's telling me that there are suggestions within the system where it might say, instead of buying that, maybe they want to buy this instead. So if this is a situation where you're on the phone with a customer, or maybe you're processing an order, but there's a suggestion that might want to be made back to that customer, you can have this. This also, by the way, is the base for e-commerce integration, which is one of the biggest features that's been added in 21R2 for distributors. So this all serves up and supports e-commerce integration with BigCommerce and Shopify. So I can say, yes, I do want to substitute that item. And if I do that, I can choose to substitute that. And then that will update my sales order so that I'm now including my upsold item instead of the original item that I had on there. This indicator has changed, and that's because there is a related item for the Polish dogs, and that is the buns. So I had that as a required item, which basically says if somebody's going to buy the Polish dogs, they also have to buy buns to go with the Polish dog. So I can go ahead and add that. And then the last thing that you can do as well is have substitutions if something is out of stock. So the last thing I was going to add to my sales order here was some blueberry Pop-Tarts. Who doesn't love those? So I'm going to go ahead and add my blueberry Pop-Tarts. But as it turns out, I am short on those. I don't have any on hand, and I have some on other sales orders. But there is a suggestion here, and that is a substitution item. So if we're out of blueberry, the system says, okay, well, blueberry close enough. Widen that a little bit. We're going to go ahead and sell them the strawberry. So I can go ahead and add that to my sales order. So cross-sell and upsell, got to put a quantity on there. Cross-sell and upsell will help you increase your sales opportunities for your customers, and then also kind of make things easier if you have companion items that always need to be sold. And the last thing I'm going to show you is some significant improvements for the manufacturers that we have in the room, and that is this production schedule board that is part of the manufacturing module. So this particular screen is a new feature with 21R2, and this is a visual representation of our production schedule. And I know that for the people who are manufacturers, this is something they've really been looking for. This is based on the same information that has always been in Acumatica manufacturing. It's based on the production orders that you have in your system. If you have work centers or machines, it takes a look at that. But this screen is going to show you for whatever date range you select, what do you have on the schedule? And there are also color coding cues that represent whether those things are on time or early or late. So this screen is kind of crunched in here just a little bit. I can actually expand it out so that I've got a little bit more room to work with. So within here, and also I can drop down. If you're not using work centers and you just want to look at the production orders themselves, you can get that out of the way. If you're more interested in looking at the work center level information, you can pop that back up. You can choose to have your precision in months, weeks, days, or hours, depending on how precise you want to be. So, and then there are additional filters up top. So this will really help you be able to kind of get that visualization of your production schedule rather than just the list views that have been available in the prior versions of Acumatica manufacturing. So that's all I have. I'm going to send it back to you, Selena.
Thank you, Rebecca, and the rest of our consulting team. You guys crushed it. There's so many updates in Acumatica 2021 R2. Well, now I'm going to pass it over to our partners, Courtney and Connor with Avalara. Avalara is a great partner of Strategies Group and Acumatica, and they're going to be doing a brief demo for you guys, followed by a presentation. So, Connor, you can take the reins.
Thanks, Selena. I'll go ahead and share. This is Courtney on the line. You should be seeing a bright orange screen right now. Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having us, Strategies Group. And just one correction, we're not actually going to be doing a demo today just because of the time constraint. But of course, Connor and I are always happy to provide a demo if you're interested in something like that after our presentation today. Just to give you a quick intro on the two of us, I am Courtney Ingalls. I'm the Strategic Alliance Manager, meaning that I manage the partnerships over here at Avalara. Strategies Group being one of them. One of our great partners, very active. Selena, you've been a really great resource for us to bridge the gap. So yes, I facilitate the partnership here. And then Connor actually works on the sales side. So he works exclusively with obviously Avalara, but with Acumatica. So as it pertains to Acumatica. So I am going to kick us off today for the start of the presentation, and then we're going to end with Connor talking about some of our solutions. So I will go ahead and get started. I know we want to make sure we get you done on time. So yeah, like I said, today we're just going to give you a little bit of background on Avalara, kind of where we started, how far we've come, that sort of thing. And we'll talk about the importance of compliance, particularly today in 2021. And then finally, like I said, I'll turn it over to Connor just to talk through a number of our solutions that we felt were pertinent to the group today. And of course, we will have questions at the end, so we're holding off on those. If you have any, please post them in that Q&A box and we'll get to them at the end. All right, so who is Avalara? Avalara has been around for about 17 years now, solving the problem of sales tax. We actually got our start in one of our founders' garages on Bainbridge Island near Seattle. And now we are in 20 countries across the globe with over 3,300 employees and constantly growing. We serve customers in 95 different countries. So not just the US, we can also help with VAT, cross-border, that sort of thing. And now we have over 1,000 pre-built integrations, of course, Acumatica being one of those. And some other stats to note on this slide, 25 billion Avatax API calls were made, 3 million returns filed, and $12.9 billion were remitted using Avalara solutions, all in 2020 alone. So we do have significant experience in sales tax, and you've probably heard us and are familiar with our rate calculation, just our basic, our tax calculation and things like that. But as you'll find out today, we've come a long way, and you'll see that we can help with a lot of different aspects when it comes to tax at this point, 17 years later. Okay, so when most people think of sales tax compliance, they focus on calculating the tax and specifically using the correct rate. But as you can see here, rates are just the tip of the iceberg. So let's take a look and see all of the other portions of the iceberg that are below the surface here. This is just a few of them. Okay, I think I got them all. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, there's quite a few other things to consider when it comes to tax. I do want to point out Nexus, which is looming at the bottom here, the really scary part of the iceberg. This is hopefully a term that you're somewhat familiar with, but If not, it's that obligation for a company to register and collect in any given state. So it used to be pretty simplistic. It was just, having a physical presence in a state would require you to collect. If you had exempt customers, you typically didn't have to be concerned with that. But a lot has shifted over the past few years following the Wayfair decision versus South Dakota. And now we've gone from just that sheer physical presence being defined as nexus to now economic presence as well. So this has really complicated things for businesses, particularly those who weren't needing to collect historically, i.e. B2B, which I believe a lot of you on the call today are. Something I want to point out regarding Nexus, a lot of the states, well, almost every state has set up a threshold, be it a dollar amount, a transaction amount, or some variation of both. And these days with Nexus, there of course isn't any rhyme or reason. There's no way to keep track of every state because they're all going to be different. But an added layer of complexity is that some states with these thresholds, even if your sales are all exempt or a majority of them are exempt, if you're meeting the transaction or dollar amount threshold, then you are still going to be required to register and collect there. So I don't want anyone's ears to shut off because we're talking about tax. There's lots of things to consider, even if you are in that B2B vertical. Okay, so throwing in a few more stats here just to show you exactly how Avalara can help with not only that tip of the iceberg, like we said, the rate calculation, but also the full iceberg. So we our tax content covers over 16,000 tax codes, 25 plus industries. Even at this point, we can do, some of the ones that you don't come across as often: excise tax, lodging taxes, communications. I mentioned our international efforts as well. I won't go into all of them, but yeah, we try to make sure that everyone is taken care of. There's over 100 categories, 31,000 jurisdictions in the US, over 31,000. That's an astronomical amount to keep up with if you're doing that, manually. 79,000 plus rates and 860,000 rules and regulations. And those are really crazy little nuances that exist out there. For instance, candy bars, if you purchase a Twix, it's taxable, but if you purchase a Snickers, it's non-taxable, or it might be vice versa. But this is just to show you one of those crazy nuances that exist out there, but there's all sorts of them, as you can imagine. Okay, so let's talk about, whether or not Avalara solutions are pertinent to you. You might be wondering that for yourself at this very moment. So take a look here to see how your industry in particular might benefit from automation. So as you can recall, we're far more than just our origin in that rate calculation piece, and we've come a really long way. So we've made great strides to ensure we're covering the full process for our customers. And over the past year alone, we've made a number of different acquisitions. And this is because ultimately our CEO's goal is to be part of every transaction in the world eventually. So in order to do that, we had to make sure that we run the gambit with everything, not just helping with sales tax, because we realize, of course, distribution, manufacturing, construction, all of these verticals need help in their own regard. So Connor will go into depth on some of these solutions that you see listed here today. So make sure to stay tuned, stay alert and awake for the rest of the slides. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Connor, and I'll keep running the slides for you.
Courtney, are you implying sales tax is not the most riveting of topics?
I think we're doing
right
our
after
best
lunch.
to make it that way.
Too funny. Well, how's it going, everyone? Again, my name's Connor O'Donnell. I deal with the more client-facing side of the business here at Avalara, specifically in the Acumatica environment. And to echo what Courtney has mentioned, I like this slide a lot because it shows that, again, Avalara is much more than sales tax. You can see in the first little cube that, of course, we've got the calculations, but I mean, we're going to help with your sales tax returns. So filing the returns to the state, especially for a lot of B2B businesses, we're going to deal with your exemption certs. We can deal with state registrations. And then we go into more different verticals like insights with product taxability, different type of automation tools in that compliance suite. But the name of the game is we are much, much more than just sales tax calc. So moving to the next slide. Courtney, for the sake of time, can you double click through? Yeah, and we'll get that last one. So just talk about this all high level. So this is really kind of Avalara's suite if you're focused on our three main products. So Avatax is going to be that sales tax calculation where we're determining the different tax rates based off the location that we're reading in the ship to for your customers. But I want to focus my attention a little bit more to the left side of this slide, because a lot of you are focused in those highly exempt industries where you're dealing with a lot of non-taxable exempt customers. So how does Avalara make those differentiations? Well, whenever our sales tax engine makes a call, so if you know, from our system, Acumatica commits an invoice, it flows up to our tax engine Avatax. Well, Avatax is going to make a simultaneous call to CertCapture, which is our exemption certificate management system. And think of it like a very robust document management system on steroids, because we're going to house all of your exemption certs within it. And whenever that call comes from our tax engine to CertCapture, it's essentially saying to you, hey, is this customer taxable or non-taxable? If it's a non-taxable customer, our sales tax engine has the intelligence to stop the sales tax calculation right there. And for the inverse situation, if they do deem that this is a taxable customer because there's not an exemption cert on file, or that customer has not been toggled as exempt in Acumatica, CertCapture is going to say, hey, okay, this must be a taxable customer. Let's continue on applying sales tax to this invoice. So from the customer service side of things, y'all's lives will be a lot easier because you're not going to have upset customers. You're not going to have customers reaching out to you saying, hey, why did I get sales tax applied to me? I'm an exempt business. I'm an exempt client of yours. So we're able to make that differentiation. And then if we go to the right side of this slide, not only is Avatax, our sales tax engine, going to be making those determinations for this different sales tax rates, but it's also going to be, think of it like a repository of all of your sales tax data. So what we do is, let's say you're filing quarterly in North Carolina, where I'm located. What is going to happen is Avatax is going to store all of that sales tax calculation that occurred within that quarter. And then when it comes time to file, we're just going to pull the information from Avatax, or sales tax engine, pull it over to Avalara Returns to then file and remit on your behalf. So there's no manual oversight that you have to do, no calculations that you have to do, and you also don't have to deal with going to any of the DRO websites to manually input this. Avalara is going to do that for you. So looking at this compliance suite, this is really kind of the backbone of Avalara. This is pretty much the system that I recommend to all of my customers, because it's going to take care of your automation for compliance at that end-to-end spectrum. So, but we don't end there, right? So while that suite and that last slide is kind of the backbone, there's no two businesses that are made alike. So Avalara has expanded their scope and their service offerings accordingly. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Avalara Tax Research Standard. So I know we've got a few Avalara customers on the call, some established, some relatively new, and you might be thinking, Avalara Tax Research Standard, what's that? Well, this is also formerly known as Transactional Tax Research, or TTR. Avalara Tax Research is having its Kanye West moment, and we recently had a name change. So it went from TTR to Avalara Tax Research Standard. So same product, just different name. But what is this? So if you guys are struggling at all with product taxability for your products or services, then Tax Research Standard is going to be a huge value add for you. Essentially, if I had to boil it down, think of it like Google and Wikipedia for product taxability. So what this product is going to do is it's going to give your business access to different sales tax research library, hundreds and thousands of hours of product taxability, and direct access to tax researchers who are going to be able to answer your very specific tax questions around taxability. So it's going to take the guesswork out of product taxability, kind of situation where you might want to use this is, let's say you're scouring the internet and you're trying to figure out, okay, is this a taxable entity in Montana? Well, all you have to do in this situation is you just put in shipping in the search bar in Tax Research Standard. You click Montana, you click search, and it's going to say taxable or exempt. And it's as simple as that. Again, we're taking the guesswork out of this, and you can apply this to anything and everything within your business, from your products to your services to installation. Again, it's just going to give you that quick, easy answer of taxable or exempt. So you're knowing how your products and services are being taxed across the nation. And then, so my last slide here, one slide over. Courtney, you mind moving? There we go. So the last one here is Avalara Consumer Use, or ACU. So especially because some of the folks on the call today are dealing with construction. There might be some of you on the webinar who are thinking, hey, listen, Connor, sales tax, it's interesting, but a lot of my business just deals with use tax. And that's okay. We still can help you out there, and we can still support you. So I'm going to close out my presentation today talking a little bit about Avalara Consumer Use, or ACU, which, as the name implies, is Avalara's use tax tool. So what is ACU in a nutshell? Basically, this is going to create process automation for consumer use tax, which is going to take both the guesswork, but also the human error that's associated with self-assessment, right? ACU integrates with AvaTax and Avalara returns. So if you think back to that slide 2 slides ago where we have our product suites, the ACU just tags right into it. It integrates right into it. So you're still getting that end-to-end compliance, but you're able to tack on consumer use within it. Some great features that I really like in ACU is that you've got a lot of flexibility in where your transaction import is going to come from. So whatever source it's going to come from. You can configure different rules to support whatever your processes are, whether those are automated processes or semi-automated. And I think the big thing that customers of ACU value is that it's reporting. I mean, its reporting is super robust. It's very powerful. You're going to be able to run reports for your over or your underpayments, GL journal entries, audit trails, liability analysis. All of this is going to be at your fingertips for ACU. And when you're kind of thinking, is ACU going to be a good fit for me? There's really 3 main criteria that when I'm talking with prospective clients, I go through with them. So seeing if it relates to your business, asking yourself, do you have locations in multiple different states? Essentially, do you need to allocate different expenses to different locations, like storefronts, branches, warehouse locations? This is where ACU could be a value add to you. Another component that I look for in a good fit for ACU, are there different allocations or calculations based off the usage of your materials? A really great example, I just brought on a new Avalara customer who's using ACU, and they're a garage door company. And their materials are taxed differently based off what the end usage of that material is. So if you have any type of similarity within your business, again, ACU will be a good fit for you. And the last thing that I look for in those good matches with ACU is that centralized purchasing location. If it's handled out of corporate, typically ACU is going to be a good fit for you for that reason. So looking at this is kind of Avalara's different product suites, not just the main backbone, but some more of our specialty products that really can be a value add when it comes to compliance and really just taking the guesswork off your plate. Because the folks I talk with, no different than the folks on this call. I know you guys are busy. Sales tax is not and compliance in general is not the most sexiest of topics to tackle with. So having Avalara take this off your plate is going to allow you to focus on other priorities, so you can put compliance in the rear view and let Avalara take it from you. So with that, I wanted to end with 10 minutes to answer questions. So appreciate the time. Here's Courtney and I's contact information. We'll certainly follow up with you, but kind of my last action item here is, if you think at all that Avalara would be a value add for you, please reach out to us. Love just to schedule, a 30-minute conversation with you to see if we'd be a good fit for you and a value add to your business. If we are, great, let's continue the conversation. But if not, no worries at all. 30 minutes it takes. So appreciate your time and attention, and we are happy to chat about any questions here.
Thank you, Connor and Courtney. I actually have one question for you guys in the chat. It says, what if we have use tax and sales tax, but we're a lumber yard and a home builder?
Yeah, so that's a great one. And this is where, again, it's great that ACU has that tight integration with AvaTax. So we're going to be able to tackle your sales tax through our sales tax engine called AvaTax, but we're also going to be able to help assist you with your use tax through Avalara Consumer Use, and the two integrate together. So you're going to be able to have one automated solution for those two different verticals.
Hey, that's awesome. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, our consulting team at SGI and the Avalara team for the amazing presentations today. I have a few questions that were asked for our consulting team. We went in and answered the questions in the chat just in case we ran out of time here, but there's some more coming in right now. So there is a question, sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. It says, if you have approval maps and bill adjustments, does it automatically route still? That's for Acumatica. I'm assuming that's a question for our consultants. It was answered in the chat, but if you guys want to elaborate any on it.
This is Rebecca. I'll chime in. I noticed that question came from Gwen, and I answered it in the chat. My assumption was that she asked that because when I was showing bills and adjustments, and it was showing up the buttons and all of that, that she was just wondering if the approval map still takes place. And my answer to that was yes, but it looks like Daniel was also trying to clarify if that had something to do with expense reclassifications also. So if it's just initial bill approval, then yes, it still does that. If it's expense reclassification, the reclassification is a GL function, so it does not. Hopefully that answers the question.
And if you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us afterwards. It looks like all the rest of the questions were answered in the chat, unless we need any more clarification. If you guys do, feel free to reach out to us. We can give you some more clarification there. I hope this presentation was very interesting to you all. We'll be sending a recording of the webinar afterwards as well. So be on the lookout for that. And we're going to have another webinar in this series next quarter. So this is going to be a new thing that we do every quarter so that we can get all our customers on a call together and we can talk about tips and tricks and all of that stuff. So be on the lookout for that, and I will be sending out a recording. Feel free to follow up with any questions that you have with any of us at our team. I can get you guys in contact with Avalara's team as well. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. That's all from us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Selena.
Yeah, of course. Bye, everyone.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great
Hi,
day.
everyone.
Bye.